said, the struggle you getting mine. Hustle from the bottom, the customer don't lie. 365 is in bed and the phone shine. Hustle till I die, so I never outshine. You found me kind of
What up, though, people? What up, though? It's been a minute, but we back. Cigars with Friends, Season 2, Episode 8. This week, I got my cousin, Byron Shabazz. You already know when he comes to drop some jewels. So we're going to touch on a few different things today. We're going to touch on Roe versus Wade. We're going to touch on the shootings in Buffalo since we was offline when that went on. And wherever the conversation takes us, that's where we're going to be. So let me bring him on and let's get this thing going. What up, cuz?
Good up. What's up, cuz? How you doing, man? Long time.
I know, right? It's definitely time for us to get back at it.
Yes, sir.
Technical difficulties were trying to stop us, but, we figured it out.
Yeah. Well,
first and foremost, since it's so recent, I want to start off with talking about the Roe versus Wade overturn. A lot of people, I don't think people understand like what's actually happened. So I want us to break it down for the people who don't know and want to know how it affects the everyday people.
Well, I think one of the first things that we need to understand is it was pretty much a hoax, and I don't want to go into the long extreme of explaining it, but I'll say this. Go look up the case of Roe v. Wade and the pastor that she connected with. Roe, her real name was Norma McCorvey, aka Jane Roe. Well, what happens is basically the process didn't even work when she wanted it, but it was a case that the basically right-wing evangelicals used as a jump-off point to get people to start following basically what they were doing, like we see with the right doing now. And I don't necessarily get into the political process, but I have to say, when you talk about right-wing Christianity, right-wing versions of Christianity, you're talking about white nationalists. At the end of the day, that's who that is. Case in point, you have to remember this so that this case makes sense, because too often we focus on the narrow issue of abortion. Nobody has a right to tell me or tell a woman what she can and cannot do with her body. Let us remember the first 12 presidents of this country and the so-called founding fathers of this nation, during the time they were writing, you were not included in that. And we could use the 14th Amendment, right? And if you read the 14th Amendment, you would say, how can they do this if we have a 14th Amendment? Because we have a right. Well, remember, the Constitution doesn't talk about privacy. So the right wing, these right wing so-called conservatives on the Supreme Court who revisited this case basically said when the case was sought, it was too much left out and it needed to be redone, which is why they turned it over, right? And so that's where we are today with some people who are constitutionalists. So they basically hold the Constitution up to say anything that is not in that Constitution doesn't matter, right? But let me get to the real point, and I'll let you come in and we can discuss it.
Okay.
We have to remember that white people are at zero birth rate. So the people who came to this settler colony, took it over, murdered, raped, and pillaged one group, went to an African nation, and went and got stock, human beings, brought them here to work it, to build it. Then it dawned on them, which we've seen, and we know this from states like the Oklahoma territories, the Indian territories, when they started going out west, and then at the time, the enslaved Africans in the country outnumbered them. Them jokers jumped back on them boats, went over to Europe, and started bringing people out here. That's how we filled up out there out west, right? And so they'll tell you, if you go look up the history of like the state of Oregon, it was made literally designed for white people. I mean, and that's literal, right? That these states out here were for white people. South Dakota, North Dakota, Oregon, Utah. When you go out there, that's why we're really not out there, right? You don't have a pro sport. You don't even know we're there, right?
Yep, exactly.
And so when we get back to this case, we have to remember, this case is really not about abortion. It is on one hand because if these people had zero birth rate, Do you think the same people that would enslave you would care about you having children that you can't afford to take care of? Wasn't that what slavery was all about? I made you have children that you can't take care of, so I take care of you, but you're going to do labor to work for me, right? And so now today we talk about Roe v. Wade. That's just them kicking the door in to go re-examine, because if they can look at Roe v. Wade and say, this needs to be re-examined because it wasn't processed right the first time, you think they're going to look at Board of Education?
Okay.
You think they're not going to look at all these other cases? So Roe v. Wade, I don't want people to get lost on just that, because truth be told, women have never had full citizenship or full rights, right? And so that's what this is about, because it's about, and then it goes into privacy. Go look at the cases in Texas, right? And so those are landmark issues that if we look at Roe v. Wade, like Texas, they got into privacy. Why? Because it's not in the Constitution. So they can say or do what they want to do with it. So I'll end there and let you come back.
Yeah, because see, I know a lot of people are talking about it. It's a hot topic, of course, but because for one, it's recent. But I don't think people understand the details of it, because first of all, it's banned federally, so it still can go on a state by state. It's kind of similar to marijuana. Marijuana is still federally is illegal, but state by state it can be governed that way, and that's exactly how this situation goes. My thing is on it, but when it's going state by state, what does that make the people in those states that can't get to another state to actually have a legal abortion? Now it's going to be forcing people to do illegal abortions or pretty much unsafe abortions. You know what I'm saying? Which confuses me. Like, it's just this in this country in general. We were just talking about this today at dinner. Like, for one, you should be able to tell nobody what to do with their body. That's just for one. But it's just like this country fixation on other things that really, to me, doesn't make sense. So you worried about somebody want to have an abortion, or you worried about animals when there's people dying every day over other stuff. You know what I'm saying? We got police still killing us every day. We still got other situations that need to be fixed, equal opportunities, and you know what I'm saying, pay scale equality. So it's just so much other things that I think that's more prevalent than this. You know what I mean? And it's just funny that how
answer the question, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Right. It just baffles me to the point that they can put so much focus and energy on something like that doesn't affect you. It doesn't, like, even when you ride past an abortion clinic and the people out there protesting, like, you really got time to stand out here to protest some abortions when you could be doing something that actually can help build something else. You know what I mean? It just is almost, I just think like are they obtuse to the fact, like, it just to me it's senseless. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, to me, all I see is forcing people to do it another way, because it's not going to stop nothing.
Well, here's the deal. Dr. Frances Cress Wesley, scholar that recently passed.
Yeah.
She says, until you understand white supremacy racism, everything else will confuse you. Now, let me make that make sense. If you've been the dominant number of people in a country and you own the weapons and the governmental systems, now you have those two things at your disposal to keep people under control. And guess what? Let me read something to you. This was from an old article. It said by 1990, the fertility trends show three distinct groups defined by race and education. Less educated blacks have the highest fertility rate. Welfare, low-income housing, bad education, but these people still have the highest fertility rate. Educated whites and educated blacks have the lowest fertility rate. Good job, high stress, racism, financial fatigue, all that affects your fertility rates, right? Now let me give you who the third, who are right in the middle of that. Less educated whites have a fertility level that's in between the other two, because they still have white freedom, but they still have bad medical insurance, high stress levels, bad foods, drugs, alcohol, and all that. So they fall in the middle, right? So, you know, from going to school, once you take statistics, things make a lot more sense, because you talk about predictabilities, right? Probabilities, right? And so somebody is standing back, literally doing this research. But let me get to the point at hand. All all of this is about white men making sure they have control over white women because everything else is up under that. So now here's the deal. You have white men who are in control whose wives can't have children. Now they did that from two perspectives, right? One perspective is if you look at the white middle class, they never believed in having a lot of children, right? Not in the modern era. It became that 2.1 child, you know what I mean? And they were
Mm-hmm.
done because they wanted to leave a lot to their children. See, in the days when we were all poor, black, white, or whomever, and we lived in an agronomy society, people were more fertile because they needed children to work those farms. And when we were enslaved, we had healthy women having children, feeding their babies, coming home late to
Facts.
feed their own children. They still just as big and strong and healthy, right? And so now you move
Mm-hmm.
it to the day when the Christian evangelicals realized their women were not able to have children, right? They started saying, they were against birth control, abortion, and all of that. All of those things are byproducts of what was happening to white women. The problem became we can look at the crack era, we can look at poverty, we can look at all these things in the black community. How many black girls growing up was poor as hell, had 5 kids? Strong, healthy dudes ended up good athletes, graduated from high school, went on to college, and beat all the odds. And mother was a poor, struggling single woman in poor housing, no money, no education, and having these healthy children. How do you think these people are looking at that? Right?
Mm.
And they've done everything. They created a welfare system that said if a man is in the house, you can't have this money. So you keep the
Yeah.
man out. Because remember, before 1970, black people's families were more intact than white families. See, that
Mm-hmm.
whole myth about black men ain't never been around and they don't take care of their children, that's all a lie. Even the research today shows, right, that black men that are not even with the mothers have more contact and time with their children than white men do. But who's telling the story, right? So when we
Mm-hmm.
hear Roe v. Wade, everybody gets riled up over a woman's right to choose her body. Women ain't never really had the right. Somebody gave you the right, right? We think it's a God given right, but these people, in their own protection, write legislation to protect each other because it's always just been about white men and white women, right? And everybody else falls up under that. So we can't lose sight of what the bigger prize is, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can't lose sight of why these people are doing this. And notice, which we'll get to the second point you wanted to make. Why do you think these shootings have gone up? And listen to every single one of them. And listen, anybody that hears this, go back through the last elections from when Hillary Clinton was running, when Obama ran, when it was one other person. But do you know those white nationalist groups all said if Hillary wouldn't win, we commit war and genocide against black people, right? When Obama won, they said the same thing. If he wins, we're gonna commit genocide against these people. Because remember, with them, it has never, well, not ever, but recently they said, all right, we don't have to win the presidency because we gonna fill the courts. Bringing us back to Roe v. Wade. They
Mm-hmm.
said, okay, y'all got Obama, but guess what? We got the courts. Soon as that orange orangutan got into office, the one faking president, what did he do? He put with like 126 judges on,
Mm-hmm.
so they don't have to win nothing because they got the courts. Because you can take your
And
case
they
somewhere,
had the
but if
courts
they
and the
control the
house.
damn court, who you going to?
Exactly. They control the court and the house.
That's right. That's right. See, so we can't get while Roe v. Wade, and when you read the history of that, that was a damn hoax. That just became a soapbox to stand on top of because you see how easy it is to galvanize white people because somebody's making them think somebody's coming to take your stuff. Somebody's going to. So we done went from CRT to replacement theory. And they know that most whites will respond to that. Look at the last election. white people live. No, let me take you to one better. This whole replacement theory. All you have to do is tell white people somehow somebody is threatening to take what's theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, so what? You worried about somebody stealing the thing you stole? Is that what you're telling me? Because ultimately that's what's happening. So again, I say when people start talking about Roe v. Wade, it's like expand your thoughts outside of just the abortion. Because you're not going to beat white people at that game. At least when I say white people, I mean the people that are in control, that are worried about being at zero birth rate. Look at Italy, look at Spain, look at most of Europe, look at the United States. These are all the building blocks of the people who imposed themselves on Africa, Asia, India, and all these other places, right? That's how
Yep.
they got in those places. They weren't welcomed in them places. They went and they were weapons and took them places over. But guess what? All them people at zero birth rate, they over there paying them now to have children because they're not having children. So their whole middle class theory backfired. So what do they do here? See, they ain't worried about black and brown people not having abortions. They could care less. They don't want white people having abortions because they are at zero birth rate.
That's heavy. That's heavy. Like I say, most people gonna read the surface, so they're not gonna even see that part of the other equation. You know what I mean? So that's why I want to get on here and talk on it. So just to enlighten some people, give them more information on it, because I see a lot of people talking about it, but they're not talking about it. If you get my drift, like they just seeing,
Sure.
oh, they overturned it. There's no more abortions, blah blah blah, which is deeper than that, and and then that's not correct. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I want to get on here and touch on that, just so people can have some type of information and concepts of what's really going on, and understand that there's more to it than just the initial of stopping abortions.
Well. You know, it's funny too. Uh, I remember when the bots got a hold to the computer systems, and you saw all these things saying, "Oh, don't vote because it's not gonna matter. Your vote don't matter. You shouldn't vote." Then they found out Russia was one behind all that, right? And even
Mm-hmm.
contracted some black folks to be minions for them. So what ends up happening is you get this low turnout because they allowed somebody to trick them, and then what happens? We give rise to Stacey Abrams. So even the worst, dirtiest stuff they can do, getting us not to vote, we give rise to Stacey Abrams. But I'll take you back a step. So once black people realize that they got tricked, now we're paying the price from 2016, right? Now, because the dude that got in went along with that right wing extreme, those white nationalists, right? And
Mm-hmm.
he put all them judges on the courts. And all them black people who didn't vote, you need to look at yourself. Because black people were the biggest portion that didn't vote that could have turned over a lot of this stuff. Because they bought into the concept, your vote don't matter. Why should you vote? Hey, man, voting is one of the loudest voices you can have. And these folks, and prove it, if it didn't matter, they would not be going through the extremes they're going through to keep you from voting.
Oh man, voter suppression is so real, and a lot of us don't realize how important midterm voting is.
Extremely, extremely. But they lull us to sleep, with the get ready for the next big election. And exactly, if you don't make it out of the playoffs, you ain't gonna see the finals.
Exactly.
And the midterm election is the playoffs.
Yeah, that's where a lot of local laws, a lot of local money come through. A lot of people don't even realize that those laws,
Right.
those are really more important than the presidential race,
That's right,
because
because
those
they're
legislations and
local.
stuff affect us,
That's
affect
right.
us more. Yeah,
Immediately. I mean, the immediacy of those midterm elections, determines basically the voices that you give to the people in the final elections, right?
yeah, yeah,
But we get so caught up in the shiny object. The shiny object is who's going to be president. Well, you can't control the damn president if you don't vote in the midterms,
yeah,
because the people who are going to go in there and be your voice come from the midterms.
yeah. You leave for the Congress, senator, you the House. So that's where all those votes come from. Then locally, what I'm saying, your governor, your senator, your mayors, what I'm saying, and all the laws that get passed. Like I ain't gonna lie, I didn't learn about the importance of midterms till I was like midway through college. So I'm a political science major. So we had to learn it. And I didn't even realize how important, and that was what, 20 years ago, how important that the local elections were. Because we like you say, they put the presidential elections so high. That's all we tend to focus on, and don't realize those local elections is what's killing us.
That's
not
right.
showing up for those and not getting our propositions or our stuff that we want pushed through, because they understand how a lot of people don't really understand how politics work.
No, it is why it's why we have to go back to freedom schools, right? During the Black Power movement, during the movements in the 70s, after the Black Power movement, they created these Saturday freedom schools. And the best example I can give you about the importance of that, which I'm actually looking at starting in my cultural center, during the Holocaust, there were some Jewish people who allowed the minions of Hitler to teach their children. And then they quickly learned, no, this ain't gonna work. So they started what's called the Hebrew schools. So what happens is, so now when a boy and girl, a Jewish person goes through these Hebrew schools, when they go to college, they look at their jobs so that they can come back and protect their Jewish community and go on with their lives. If I'm a banker, I know from the history of the Holocaust to going to school to the Hebrew schools to having this symbolic gesture of the bat mitzvah, right? That you're now grown, they give you this money and you go on to college, but you feel a sense of responsibility because you know your history, right? You go through this process where you go into this Hebrew school, and so if you become a doctor, you think I gotta go back and contribute money to my synagogue or to my center to keep this school going, so that when the next one comes behind me, that goes to medical school, dental school, law school, becomes a plumber, whatever, that you owe the community who educated you to see to it that we never get back in that same jam, right? Well, that's what we need Saturday freedom schools for in our black community for our children. Because just like the Jews figured out, we can't let the same people trying to kill us educate our children. Why do we send our children to public education the same way? So you can send them, but you need to be countering that. You need your own programs to teach your children so when they go to public education, there's a conscience there. My grandmother, my aunt, my uncle, my family, the people that I owe, the people that fought through the enslavement, the people that made it through the Middle Passages, the people that built the pyramid, and they're thinking about all of this. So when I become a doctor, I see it through the eyes of my ancestors and the people, the work my people have done. See, now we going to school to become middle class to think you're not like the people you came from. See, I'm aware I came from the projects, but I know what the projects did for me, the experiences that it gave me that I still use today. I don't look down on people. Matter of fact, my first big professional job when I came to this town was managing public housing, right?
Okay.
So all that is to say, we have to get back to educating ourselves, taking on the responsibility through a cultural model and giving our children conscious about what they owe to the ancestors, right? And the people that sacrificed for them. And so we won't get so lost. So that's the big lesson we can take from the Jewish community, right? Because they copied us, but now we can see them again as a model to move ourselves forward.
Yeah, but the problem with that theory is we don't have the connection that we had back then. Like far as most of the parents teaching the ignorance to the kids, so they not even mentally aware to, okay, this is what needs to happen after school. Like most parents teaching sending their kids to school for a babysitter. They not teaching their kids to go home to
Well,
educate, and then when they come, because most the education start at home. You supposed to school your kids at home, and school when you send them there, that's just to tighten it up. But
well,
they supposed to have some base of education and history from home.
but you never look for the unconscious to raise the conscious, right? So
Facts.
so so here's the deal. It is never the job of the unconscious to make the conscious conscious of their unconscious behavior, right? It is
Hmm.
the duty of the conscious to make the unconscious conscious of their unconscious behavior, right? So those in the community that are conscious, it is their duty to go wake them folks up. Because there's always been dead people. There's always been, hey, listen, again, back to the Jewish community. Remember, 2 Jews loaned Hitler the money for the Holocaust.
Wow.
Remember, every major black movement that's ever been crushed, other black people told.
Yeah.
You understand? Gabriel Prosser, Denmark Vesey, Nat Turner. It was always some old Negro who thought boss was gonna do him a favor or give him something more if he turned on his people and told on them, right? So again, it is the job of the conscious to raise the unconscious, right? So those of us that know have to do a better job of getting involved in our communities, finding other people like us to help raise those young people, right? I do it every day on campus. I do it every day on campus. You see what I mean? When them
Mm-hmm.
students find me and come talk to me, Brother Shabazz, here's my situation. All right, come see me. Let's meet for lunch and we'll figure it out. I'll give you some money for grad school. Who you need to talk to? Let me make some phone calls for you because I walk across that campus and the students know it. Like I owe them because I know the people where I came from that I owe, right? And that's how we pay it back or pay it forward, so to
Pay it
speak,
forward.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So nothing in our community is disjointed, just like this Roe v. Wade case, right? Roe v. Wade. These people trying to take these women's rights away, but I was working on a piece, man, saying all black male D1 athletes should be involved in a women's movement. And the reason I say that is because 74% of us was coming to college without our fathers. Our mothers was
Mm-hmm.
one that got us there. So we should be supporting women's movements, right?
That makes
Because
sense.
to give them a bigger voice, because they're the ones that are taking care of our community. Unfortunately, but that's who's in the community raising us athletes or raising us to get us out of there. So, like I said, nothing is disjointed as it relates to this system because the system is working exactly the way they designed it, right? They never meant for us to come here. See, remember, they didn't see us past slavery. Example. Remember when people were saying defund the police. And
Mm-hmm.
at first, even at first, even I was like, "Ooh, man, they need to come up with something better than that, because that don't sound right." Defund the police, because I'm like, where I'm from, shit, I want to see the police, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I began to read and to listen and to understand. Well, you have to realize, man, just a little while ago, if somebody said freedom, liberation, escape, you understand? Those are all bad words. Education, we said now, but imagine you walking up to a white enslaver, bad words, because that's contrary to what
Yeah, it's going
we
against their
have
grain.
got to. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it's definitely deep, and I just want people to dig into it more, do your own research. But we just wanted to kind of give you, some insight on it, different levels of thinking. But what you said that really stuck out to me was more so about the conscious uh, helping the unconscious, far as
Right.
each one teach one, and us looking out for each other. Something that we had, as a people, has definitely got away from. It's also always me, me, me. You know what I mean? And I always tell my boys that, like, my crew, when we talk business or we talk anything, like if they call me for advice, I say, well, you know what I'm saying? I bump my head so you can duck. And that's how we should think. Like, if we, you know what I mean? If I go through it first, I'm gonna tell you, no, don't go that way. You know what I mean? Because there's so many different things. Like we've so in this mind of hoarding information, you know what I mean, or hoarding anything that we get, because we so afraid of somebody else getting what's for us. And we got to stop thinking like that, because like I told one of my buddies was trying to start a business, and it's a lot of people doing it. And I always give people the bread example. If you go to the grocery store, go to the bread aisle. It's 20 different bread companies. You're gonna pick what you want though. As long as your skill set is doing what it's doing, the people gonna come to you. Like far as photography, I tell my boys all the time, I only can be one place on Saturday. It's impossible for me to be 3 or 4 different events. So that way, if I get this gig and 3 other people call me, I can shoot that to y'all and vice versa. See, we stronger together than we apart on many aspects, but we just so stuck in that mindset of me that we missing it.
Or I got to be at the top, or I got to be the main one at the top instead of making the bread together. So you're the one that's doing it, right? And then 4 people call you and you say, I can't be somewhere. You tap each one of them. You go here, you go here, you go here. I'm gonna take 20% and I'm gonna give y'all the rest. Let you get yourself together. You build your clientele. Now, as a company, we all gonna get better and better. You see what I mean? And that's all everybody else do. It is no magic, man. It is absolutely no magic to it. But we get so caught up in why Rodney name at the top of the why his name at the top. Well, who was doing this and who brought you to this? And who do you think people are attracted to? They don't know you yet. So just, hey, ride it out, bide the time, learn the craft. And as you get better, you may have a totally different skill set in photography than Rodney that people will then pull you in. Stop trying to be me. Look, everybody look, no matter how hard Kobe tried, as good as he was not Michael Jordan. And he was good. Kobe was, hey, you got to say, all time, I don't know, inspiring to be instead of, to be, and in some cases, some people said better in certain instances, whatever. But the idea was there was one Michael Jordan. And because he spent so much time aspiring to be like Mike, you kind of lost sight of how good he really was because he didn't want to stand alone, right? And he was good,
compare, and then you're gonna keep getting compared.
That's right. And you got to move out of that space. I don't compare myself to nobody.
Because comparison is a thief of joy. You're so worried about what somebody else is doing, you're not even focusing on your process. You comparing yourself, oh, this guy doing this, but you focus on what somebody else doing. You're not focusing on what you're doing and what you're gaining and what you're building. That's why I never be in comparison.
That's right. We all are individuals with a set of skills that work better for us than somebody else, because it's the one our DNA made up. It's like I hear people brag. I'm around a lot of different types of people, but this particular group, we just bought this $500,000 crib, and we got this and we got that, and to me, here's how I see people. So you had the DNA and the genetic makeup to be very good at math and science, and so now you're an engineer and you're making this money. You just lived up to the expectations that was produced in you already. Whether you call it epigenetics or you say the person lived up to what was already built in them, right? See, to me, to exceed that is when you can show me, because as long as you're doing it for you, you just lived up to what was inside of you. That's coming in all of us that are conscious and that are trying, right? So you say, well, I've got this crib and I make this kind of money and I do this. Hey, man, I'm like really happy for you, brother. I really am. But now show me how the world is different because you're good at what you do. Meaning, have you gone over in the hood somewhere and found some other little boys you see or girls with potential like you as an engineer, and you help guide that path to help get them there? Because if somebody like you don't come around who been there, they're not going to see it. You got to then talk to me about your genius. See, now I believe you're a genius because you can duplicate yourself, right? But if you tell me what you did just for you, I ain't impressed by that. I'm not impressed by that because all you did was live up to what was inside of you anyway.
Yeah, that's why when I do like career days at middle schools and high schools, I never wear suits, right? Because I don't wear a suit on my job. So when I go to career days, I want the kids to relate to me like I'm from where you're from. I want you to know that you can make it because I did. I'm not special. I'm not no different than you. I'm from the same neighborhood. So when I do like, Grandport Middle School and E-course, I do their career day. I always dress down. I never, people be in there suit and tie. They don't even wear suit and tie on their job, but that's how they dress to the career day. But I want them to feel comfortable because I know when I was a kid, if somebody come to our school to preach to us and I can't relate to them, I'm not gonna pay attention to them. You're not from where I'm from, so you don't even understand what I'm going through. So I can't even relate to you. But I wanted to show them naturally, like I'm from 3751 10th Street. You know what I'm saying? I want you to know that I'm from the same neighborhood you're from. And I wear what I want to wear to work every day because I work for myself. But I put myself in that position. And I came the same streets that y'all are running. I ran them same streets, but I took the path that I wanted to take. So when they see somebody that's like them, that's going to talk to them real, they relate to it. And that's just something I feel like, you know what I'm saying? I ain't saying I'm going to save the world, but if I can help one person, which I done help way more than one so far, and I'm only 42, but it's planting seeds and building and helping other people come up. Like you said, that's the bigger thing than us making it.
That's right.
Because that's what we're getting away from. We so me, me. And you know what I'm saying? I get fulfillment when I put somebody up on game and they win. You know what I mean? That helps. That geeks me up more than just me getting it. You know what I'm saying? I see my people getting it like, boom, you winning. You know what I'm saying? If I can help you, like, oh, don't do this, go that way. And you just saved you some thousands of dollars or thousands of man hours because you wouldn't bump your head trying to figure that out. And that's just one thing we do have to get back to, because the community as a whole, the village needs to be back in more ways than
community.
One. Yeah,
the community. It's so funny, man. Like Mikey Randall, clearly Tidwell, my cousin Chris London, but then like Kenny Joe, John, Will Ghostin. It's funny. It was so many brothers, man, that was around me. And this is what's funny. Even when I came home, when some of them dudes had got in the street, this is no joke. Them dudes will see me. How you doing? You cool? Your paper street? Yeah, I'm cool, man. I'm just home for a minute for the summer. And I'm talking to them, man. And they say, now these dudes in the street for real. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so how you doing, man? Hey, how's your mother, man? My mother's cool, man. Yeah, yeah. So, okay, so when you leaving? You know what I'm saying? So when you leaving, right? Because this ain't somewhere you need to be. E-course, man, I've always said, I remember growing up thinking, man, especially when I started traveling as an athlete, it was like, man, I'm getting up out of here and I ain't never coming back. And then, the older I got, the more I wanted to come home, right? Mm-hmm. I wanted to make time, like I make time to go see my mother, right? And so I think of all that place provided, the safe haven, the literal family connections and people, my friends would trip. How I would go through E-course. I knew somebody on every single street. I knew I could just walk in their house. I mean, literally, not gonna just go in the house because I knew them since I was yay big, right? But we had that. Mm-hmm. We had that. Whereas somebody else would try and say, what somebody from the outside might have a different perception of E-course, because I don't even know what it's like now. But I know growing up, that village, put it this way, when I went to train, the year I lived in LA training, I was never afraid, man. I was 19 when I left Michigan State. 19, I left Michigan State turning 20. I was out there training, man. Went from E-course to Michigan State to LA and was out there training. When I came back, then moved to Toledo. I mean, I moved around Toledo like I've been there my whole life. When you come from a place that people always made you know you can do better, or always talk to you about, what are you trying to do? Like, what is your focus? Constantly asking you that. When you get around other people, I was just never afraid, because I was like, y'all ain't tougher than them dudes I grew up around. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, and I could read the spaces I'm in, like, oh no, something about to jump, I'm out. You see what I mean? But
yep.
but those are things you learned in the village because it was up close and personal, And now, man, like, I live in this area, my neighbors are nice, we all speak, play golf with the dude next door, and the dude on the other side we plays, and hey, how you doing? And you know what I mean? But it's not the same as when, like, I could come on 12th Street and literally just walk in sports in my house, go over Red Hughes, my Aunt Sandy, my Aunt Lockie, the Ghostins, your grandmother. I mean, it was like I was never away from home.
Yeah.
right? And so all of that, man, is what we have to try to build again, because we had an actual community. And most of our children, we moved away from it, and they don't know that. I know mine didn't.
Yeah,
Trying
because the
to
world is so different
so-called
now. It's
live
not the
better
same.
or do better,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a gift and a curse in that. Like, you know what I'm saying? You want your whole goal is to escape the neighborhood, but even though you move into a better community and it ain't the same, you don't feel that neighborly, you don't feel that love. Like you say, your kids can run up and down the street and you know what I'm saying, Miss Smith on the corner gonna make sure they straight when she's seeing when she's sitting out on her porch, et cetera, et cetera. So we definitely went away from that, the community aspect. And I think, like, honestly, I think the first stage of that was, the fathers leaving the house with the welfare situation, getting the fathers out the house. Then right after that, we got hit with the crack epidemic. It was just like a snowball effect, and it has altered our community in a whole. And I think that's kind of where we got stuck at. And where now, I think now in this stage of, digital content or being able to connect with the world from wherever you at, we're starting to get more conscious of what's going on. And
right?
it just has to have more growth.
Well, it's funny, it's like the shooter in Buffalo. I was thinking about that. I was like, so what if this guy would have went up, that type would have went up on Jefferson and tried to pull that?
Mm-hmm.
All I'm thinking is, I know so many dudes that would have peppered his ass up. It would have been, I can't say that in totality, but I'm just thinking, because I know the environment where we are. If some dude walk out like that, it's some dude in there like, what? It is the fact that this dude calculated, I'm going to go into a neighborhood that's predominantly black, right? Where there's not many white people, and he leaves his 99% non-white neighborhood to go over into this black neighborhood and take these people out, all because they gonna replace us. So he's going to go and kill these people.
Yeah.
You
Look, we're
understand?
gonna take a 30-second break, and then we're gonna come back
Yo,
and we're gonna touch on that Buffalo. We were right back.
sure,
Back in
sure.
2017, I went to a cigar bar in Scottsdale, Arizona with my brothers. Took a liking to cigars. Fast forward 4 years later, February of 2021, I launched Cigars with Friends podcast on the Real Ish Radio Network. Anybody that knows me personally know I'm an entrepreneur and I'm all about the hustle and ownership. So it's only right I started my own cigar brand. Reached out to my homie Andreas in Nicaragua. We networked, we put the play together, and now you got Kasi. Kasi Cigars. That's the brand, that's the movement. Tap in with me. And we back, people. It was just a quick break. This episode is sponsored by Casa Cigars, which is my cigar line that we just launched this January. Doing well. Make sure y'all check out the site, www.ka-sicigars.com, and support it. Check it out, man. But we're going to get back to this. Let's touch on this Buffalo situation before we get out of here. Yeah, I want to touch on that because, for one, it's crazy that what he targeted. And then my thing on this, everybody keep talking about gun laws, changing gun laws. Changing gun laws or making stiffer gun laws is going to affect the legal buyers. It ain't going to affect no criminal. If you have intent to do a demonist type thing, you're going to find a way to do it. And all that's going to do is help the people that can legally purchase weapons to protect their home or protect their person. It's going to hinder us, not the criminals.
Chicago, easy one, right? But check this out. Okay, so let's talk about the gun laws for a minute. Okay, so before the Black Panther, let me take you back a step. Okay, so they've always believed in the right to bear arms and their freedom, as long as you got it cocked, no shells, you can put it in the back of your car. You can have, they had all these gun laws, people hunt. They had every reason in the world, okay, they got these guns. Okay, so the Black Panthers was like, oh, is that how this gun thing work? Fix you right up. They walk up in the State House in California, guns, all legal, half cocked. They walk up in there, and what happened? Ronald Reagan changes the gun laws immediately.
Yep.
Immediately. Because they walked up in there with their arms, just like them white dudes did every single day. right? So the gun laws literally changed because black people were arming themselves. What do you think is happening right now? The fastest community that are buying arms right now are black people, right?
Facts.
So these dudes who want these AR-15s and all these guns, all that is back to the whole zero birth rate, because notice how it's working. The more they talked about zero birth rate, people coming across the border, who's taking their jobs, then the killings started to rise more and more and more. The boy walks into a church in California. I'm sorry, in South Carolina. Goes through Bible study with these people. What kind of heinous, evil, rotten ass person are you? His boy sits through Bible study, waits till it's over, and kills these folks, man. You understand?
Yep.
This boy in Buffalo goes to the store the day before, comes back, gets himself together, and he's shooting, and he stops and apologizes. But look at the story in every single one of these situations. He apologizes to the white people while he's killing these black people, right?
Yep.
So the boy that does the killing in South Carolina in Mother Emanuel Church, they if don't even have this boy handcuffed at first, walking him to the car and turn and ask him till somebody tell him, and then turn and ask him, "Are you hungry?" Takes this boy to eat before he goes to jail. You see what I mean? You know why? Because they seen that's their nephew. They
Yep.
see his humanity in spite of him killing people that they don't see their humanity. You understand? That's evil as hell, man. But that's the world we in right now. And that orange orangutan really made them people feel safe enough that's all the insurrection January 6th was about. Y'all trying to take our stuff. We getting ready to take this government back over. You understand?
Yeah.
So that boy in Buffalo is a symptom of where America is right now. Because believe me, Sandy Hook, and then what do they say? See, when we had shootings in the city, oh, criminals. What Hillary Clinton called us, these not hyper criminals.
Super predators.
Basically, what she was saying, we hyper criminalize people, basically, and we got to do something and lock them up. You understand? And they went on and on and on. These white boys, super predators. We got to
Super
have
predators.
mental health. I'm
Yep.
like, man, black people talking about mental health. Now it's a mental health thing because you don't want to face you have produced a monster. And it's just a matter of time. I'm telling you, you gonna look at this tape a year from now and watch. You watch, you gonna get some of them killing them. They gonna start saying these people got these rights because you liberals gave it to them. Mark my word, man. It's just a repeated history. It's like every war and every movement that happened. Once they get fed up and somebody starts coming after them, they're gonna start going after each other. It's just they're gonna still keep coming after us, but you can believe it's just a matter of time. Just like they did that senator when they shot her all up, right? So
Yeah.
you look at the history of America, we really truly cannot be surprised because, often say, had we listened to Malcolm and Du Bois, we wouldn't be here right now. Because they both told you where this was going. They both told you we needed a long-term plan. They both told you we need to start protecting ourselves. And some of us need to just get on up out of here.
The battle and the bullet.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I tell people, listen to that. Listen to that lecture and you will understand.
Yeah, he definitely was prophesizing in that, man. But all my people, like I'm saying, if you can, make sure y'all bear arms. Make sure y'all take CPL and CCW classes. Learn how to use these weapons. Learn how to protect yourself and your home. Don't be ignorant of the law. Don't not understand the law, because a lot of states you can carry open carry, or you can in some states you can even conceal without a permit. So that's just something y'all need to look up in your state. Get out to them gun ranges. I'm seeing a lot of black gun clubs, black gun ranges starting to open up. It's starting to spread, but they definitely got to jump on us. So we need to get prepared just in case, and just understand, know how to use weapons, know how to protect your family, know how to protect yourself, because it's gonna get worse before it get better, and that's just the fact. I just left the range today.
Absolutely.
I was there today shooting my AR. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So it's real out here.
Yeah, and they say, yeah, they were saying black women, and I think black women are the highest number of all people arming themselves
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, they
Because
because my buddy teaches
I don't know
CPL class,
what
and
it is with these. I do know what it is, but these attacks against black women, has just gone up. I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
and they start, like I
So I
say, my
tell the
buddy
sisters,
teaches a
man,
CPL class in Michigan.
hey, take you a jujitsu class, arm yourself. You do whatever you need to do to protect yourself.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I just want to let my people know.
I
Make
mean,
sure y'all look
I don't know,
into
man.
that.
We are just truly at this time. We, yeah, but we need to be better stewards of our communities, our families, protecting our women, because we're in a day, man. Now that these people, they've become like cornered animals that somebody, except for they see it through the model of somebody's trying to place them, take something away from them, or their stuff is being given away. And so anybody they deem that are the recipients of that, they're a danger.
Plug it in. Yep. And that's something that we have to definitely get on top of, man. Like I say, we be late to the game in so many different things, but that's one that we can't keep playing with. Let me plug this laptop in. Thank you. That's something that we can't play with. We need to get on top of that ASAP. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, go to your lucky gun range, do your research, do your homework, take a CPL class. Or just if you want a CPL class, just take a basics training class just to learn how to use your weapon, disarm the weapon, the basics, and protect yourself, man. It's a wild world we live in. I know if I'm in Walmart and a Buffalo shooter come in there, somebody with that same type of intentions come on, you gonna have his motherfucking hands full. You hear me? So I just want everybody to
and
protect
I think
themselves and to
that,
be safe.
yeah, and I think that's what many people have come to the conclusion of, because there's a brother standing in Walmart looking to buy his son or nephew a gun. He's just holding, looking at this BB gun. Officer walk right in up on him and kill him. So we like,
Wow.
wow. So we just look, the little boy in Cleveland. He
Tamir
just
Rice.
playing with a little gun. Officer, yeah, officer roll up on him. Not even 2 seconds. Do him in.
Yep.
You understand? So I think now it's it's really a matter of self-preservation, right? So this, to one of the notes I was going to talk to you about, man, is all the way back to the beginning of the beginning of the conversation with these people who really have this agenda about Roe versus Wade. Those are the same people that created this damn boogeyman. They've always created this damn boogeyman. These people coming to take over this stuff. These people are doing this, and hey, go and here was one I was doing a little read, man, and it was so funny. I'm reading about Central High School in Little Rock because I'm always interested in the underpinnings, the stuff that we don't talk about. When you flip over the rock, what's under it? You know what I mean? Like, what is the real reason this is happening? And there's a special you can check out. But one of the things that really, and it's all related to this, the white boys who went to high school, who are now old men, who went to the school during the time, said we didn't really hate the black people so much as we were afraid our sisters would like them.
Yeah.
They didn't want their sisters dating them brothers.
Facts.
Yes, yes. So this boogeyman that never existed, they've made people afraid of somebody that really didn't even exist. Because the phenomena that we see now with black men with white women, and at the end of the day, what's really crazy is there is less than 20% of all people that interracially marry. I think it's only like 8% of people that actually marry and have children. But because like if you look at the NBA now, if you look at college ball, you see all of these interracial children. So imagine if you're at zero birth rate and you see your daughter marrying this black guy and they're producing this child. You don't exist anymore. Because once
Yeah.
your daughter has a child with this black guy, takes on his name, even though most of them got slave names, but this name, the father doesn't exist because more than likely that guy is going to marry a sister, right? So the grandfather don't exist. So he's trying not to be wiped out. But now think of that on a broader scale. So what do? You create this. They're going to do this and this and this. There's a recent article, MSN. It's on several of the news outlets. This white woman admits to her husband that she cheated on him with a black man. He kept this woman in a room for like 2 days and beat her, damn near killed her. I don't know how she got away or what happened, but because she told him she was with a black man, this is what he did to her. So imagine the angst of somebody who's going to church with just right wing, leaning, this so-called white conservative, and that's nothing but a right-wing Christian, and they got their own little story. I don't know what version of Christianity that is, but to know that everything that you've been fighting against, your daughter just went exactly the opposite way with this guy. You think that dude ain't angry? You
Yeah,
think
for
that dude
sure.
not trying to make sure that them judges look like him and think like him? All because their women are not having children. It's back. See, that's what I said. None of this that we've discussed is separated. It's all to do with the same. It takes you back to the same space. These people are at zero birth rate, so they doing any and everything to make sure that they exist and in power. Because I can't tell how many times you've read something where they said, "Shit, if we can't control it, we'll destroy it."
Yeah.
And
That's
ultimately that's what you're seeing. If you and look and watch again, now that this case now more coming out, and ask anybody I talked to when it happened, I said, hold it, wait a minute. So this dude supposedly breaks into a school. First, the line say down in Texas. Supposedly
okay.
they engage him and he gets into school. Find out that's a lie. Then they say the teacher left the door open. That was a damn lie. So now the officers who get into school are literally on the other side of the wall. 21 of these dudes, this dude in there by himself, and they don't know how to engage him. And they just listening to him pepper these kids up. And the teachers and teacher aide in the room. And they on literally on the other side of the wall, man. So I said,
Yeah, that's
once you
terrible.
willing to let people, you willing to uh, fight gun legislation so that you can keep your guns while you know people like this dude running around. And that story is so shady. It's so damn shady. This boy, 18 years old, came up with $9,000, buys all these guns, weapons, bullets, all this crap, all in a matter of days, gets the gun, and he goes and commits this act. And all of the police are there. And then the one dude whose wife is in the school says, shit, I'll go in there and get him. They take his gun and arrest him on the spot. While this boy is in there killing children.
Yeah, that's
Man, I'm
horrible.
telling you, man, look, that was a setup, man. And we gonna just like every other case, and then the guy who was supposed to be over all of it was just put on the city council, and and he's in charge of security and all this other school security. Come on, man, that's so full of holes, man. It is absolutely crazy, absolutely crazy. But here's what I knew how serious the legislation was. See, those are black and brown children, mostly brown children. So I ain't saying it's okay, but I'm like, do we really expect them to do something for these children? But when you look at Sandy Hook, them was middle class white kids. When you let
Hmm.
somebody kill them and justify it, I said, man, we at a real crazy place. Because if they'll justify this boy and his mental illness after he went and killed them children in Sandy Hook, that's an upper middle class white neighborhood. I said, I don't know where else y'all going. I don't. I just don't know what else you can do. When you take out middle class white children, what's left? So trust me, man. This whole abortion issue is just the that's the first thing they're gonna knock down, and now they get ready to march their way through. And if we don't vote, and if they don't expand that court, people saying, well, now you want too many people on there. Well, it wasn't too many when you got the ones you wanted on there, right?
Exactly.
So we gonna have to expand that court, man. So there's some level of balance because the Orange 45 orangutan, when he went on and put them people on and put all them other judges in, the high courts, the low courts, the Supreme Court, all these people, and the way they ran them through, right? See, that's all the stuff. That's why I said you have to look at abortion and then walk backwards because it's all related to the same stuff. It takes us right back to if you're at zero birth rate, you are afraid. And that's not just an American phenomenon. Go look up Italy, Spain, and them other European nations, man. They're literally over there paying people to have children because of their birth rates. And now some of them are even letting brown people come in their country to keep the country populated.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, man. It's just, so don't be, so I tell people about this abortion thing. I'm like, don't get fooled by the shiny object. Because they got you locked in right now. Because there's something way more sinister at play. And as a matter of fact, let me do this. These books right here, I would highly, highly recommend people getting these books. I'm sorry. And if you read any one of them first, it's called One Nation Under God. Read that one first. Because I was trying to figure out, like, where did this whole right wing evangelical Christian thing come from? Right? And so I read his work and it makes absolute sense. Absolute sense. He's a professor at Stanford University. And when you read that book, his name is Kevin Cruz. You read this book, everything that's happening makes sense. Let me give you another good book. It's called The End of White Christian America, which is a lot of what you're seeing. He explains in depth why they need this boogeyman and why they're so afraid, right? This book, all the lies that people have been told about Christianity and how it operates. Now, this book is a case of the boogeyman is running the church, right? Or these
Okay.
churches, these right wing, yeah. They've allowed the boogeyman. Ain't Christ running it? It's the boogeyman running it, right? And lastly, brother, trust me, it's always about the money. This
Confessions
book
of an
is called.
Economic Hitman.
Oh man, read that book, especially you being a businessman. Listen, if you want to interrupt some people, interrupt their economy.
For
This
sure.
dude, this dude was paid to go into Central America, South America, and would literally go in there like a hitman and get close to somebody and just upset their economies, man, so we could go in there and get their resources, right?
Hmm.
But then you demonize the guy that's in the country, right? It's like
Yeah.
my man Hugo Chavez. He goes in, nationalize the oil, tell them British, y'all can get the hell up out of here, BP. Y'all getting up out of here. They go to the UN and complain. Next thing you know, this dude got cancer, incurable cancer. So trust me, brother. When we start talking about abortion, it's much bigger than what the surface talk is about, because they know we get trapped right on the shiny object while all this other stuff is going on.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's heavy, man. I appreciate you. I know it's kind of getting late on the East Coast, man. Appreciate you standing up with me, kicking it, dropping some jewels to the people, man. I'm gonna close out. Stay on. We're gonna chop it up for a minute after we close out.
Sure.
What's up, people? Thanks to everybody that tuned in, everybody that commented. Make sure y'all like and share it when y'all see it. If y'all on our YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can know every time that we go. I'm back. We're officially back. I'll be back with a weekly podcast. Blaine's podcast is coming back, and we're gearing up to add some more to Real Ish Radio Network. Appreciate the support. Make sure y'all check out Kasi. That's my cigar line, ka-si-cigars.com. We doing custom boxes, and we also got 3 different cigars. We got a Granny Randall, the Detroiter, and we also got the Big Red. So make sure y'all check that out. Appreciate all the support, all the love, man. Keep it coming, and I'm gonna catch y'all next week. This is Real Ish Radio, Cigars with Friends.
Said a struggle to get in line. Hustle from the bottom, the customers don't lie. 365 isn't dead and the phone shine. That's until I die.